The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network inside of the Bambino's Cafe. That's right, the fine Italian dining Bambino's. Hey, it's just us two today. Me and my buddy, the big fella, Guy Newcomb. We're going to go through a couple things. We're going to talk about a wild football weekend last weekend in college football. We're going to talk about how Colorado and Coach Prime Time did his thing against TCU and what to expect this upcoming week. And we'll go over and recap the Bears, Mizzou, and our local area college scores here. So, big fella, what's going on with you?
Hey, man. I'm glad to be back. I mean, hey, 2/3 is a quorum, right? I mean, we've got 6, 7. Yeah. Coach Archer for some basketball, so he's got some late practices here this week, but he'll be back in the saddle before too long. But, hey, looking forward to it. The weather's changing. The smells outside are changing. Got up the other morning, and I could see my breath. Anytime I can see my breath, I know I'm alive, and it feels good to be outside.
Well, at least you can see it because I don't want to smell it. That's for dang on sure. And the weather is changing. There is a smell outside. My sewer had backed up. So that's what I was smelling. So all those things are true. Don't make it a great day. But it is a good day because we're here. We're here on Huddle Up, and the NFL season is going to kick off here in a little bit, big fella. But right now, man, that time of the year. Yes, last week, college football, it happened, man. It happened. Mizzou got a big win over South Dakota State, which was to be expected. They kind of cruised to a victory after being up 28-3 at the half. And Brady Cook, I think he kind of solidified his role as starting quarterback. What about some of the other players up there, big fella? What are you thinking?
Well, you mentioned about Brady Cook. He was 17 for 21, with 172 yards and a touchdown. But, Cody Schrader, 18 carries for 113 yards for Mizzou. And then Luther Burden, I mean, he's doing what everybody thought he was going to do. 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. They got Middle Tennessee coming up next and at Faroe Field on Saturday at 6 p.m. But like you said, 28-3 at half, that kind of took maybe the foot off the gas. Got some other quarterbacks and running backs some time too early on to kind of see what they could do.
Yep, Mizzou did what they're supposed to do against Missouri Valley Football Conference opponent, which we'll see here. The Bears will play them, but the Bears ran up against a team. What I saw Kansas, I got a chance to watch the game. I thought Kansas was okay. I mean, they're a Power 5 school. They didn't show me the dominant lines that I thought they would do. And Missouri State made some plays. There were some throws that if it could have been made, could have been game changers. But, Guy, what were your thoughts on the MSU's 17-48 loss to Kansas last Friday night?
Well, they've got to clean up their third down efficiency. They were just 1 for 9 on third down. They were 1 for 1 on fourth downs. And Jacob Clark, he threw 2 interceptions, but he was 14-21. That's 67%. Jacardier Wright, I mean, you knew going into that after that first probably 2 or 3 series that KU was not going to let him run all over him. I mean, he's a K-State guy. They were familiar with him. He had 15 carries for 23 yards. I think the offensive line played well in the first half, but then anytime you go up against those FBS schools, they're just going to wear you down because they're so much deeper. They've got 30 more scholarships, and that's what happened.
Yeah, well, I saw a lot of good things from the Bears. I think there's some things they can definitely grow on. Guy, they open they play next week here in a couple of days at Tennessee Martin, which, as you noted, 48-7 against Georgia is not a bad loss. I saw a 73-0 score last week. So 48-7 at Georgia is not a bad loss, big fella.
No, I don't think that's a bad loss at all. When you look across the country, you see Oregon putting up 81 points, in their contest. Georgia is the number 1 team in the country and the defending national champion. So the Bears may have their hands full going to Tennessee Martin, number 1. But Tennessee Martin might be a little better than what we thought when we scheduled this game.
Right. No doubt. I agree with you. Well, with that being said, we're hoping that both of these teams can pull off a victory. I'm pretty sure Mizzou, I think they'll be the overwhelming favorite. I think Missouri State would have to play a lot better against the Tennessee Martin team. There's going to be a tough opponent on the road. Last week, right around your neck of the woods, SBU kind of laid it on somebody.
They did. They went to Panhandle State, and that's an 8.5, 9-hour drive. And I've been there one time, and I didn't leave anything there I'm going back for. It's just not a pleasant place to go. But they go down 65-7, and it was 24-0 at the half. They had 348 yards rushing, 248 yards passing. Colin Sutton had 169 yards passing for the Bearcats, two TDs, but also 2 interceptions. And then Joby Smith had 9 carries for 109 yards.
Wow.
So 11 yards a carry there. And the Bearcats averaged 8.7 yards per play. And then they go on the road again they are playing at home. They host Black Hills State University, 12 p.m. at Plaster Stadium in Bolivar, Mo.
Yeah, good victory, and some big numbers they put up. Probably got a chance to put a lot of people got a chance. So are you absolutely positively sure you don't want to go back to Panhandle State again? You sure? I think you might have left your wallet there, right?
I don't care. I'm not going back. I am not going back to Panhandle State. That's been a long time ago. That was in the baseball days in college.
Oh, what was there, buddy? Was there anything there of noteworthy?
They had a gas station.
No, you can go in there and get a little gas and get you a Snicker or something. Come on, get up out of there. Let's go, huh? Well,
yeah,
good for SBU for starting the season off right, 2-0, I believe, right now. What about Evangel? The Valors, they got a victory, and it was a little bit closer than you might expect it.
Yeah, Tabor College 14-7. Evangel 2-0 on the season as well. R.J. Wakely had 199 yards passing and a touchdown, and then he also scored the other touchdown on an 8-yard run. Sammy Robinson, the Mount Vernon product, had 59 yards on the ground, and they've got Sterling College out of Kansas at Nixa Stadium on Saturday. So looking forward to the Valor, and Coach Heppola will be part of the quarterback club on Monday at Bambino's to kind of give us a rundown of their season up to this point.
Good deal. Good for them and making some of those things, making that victory possible. Always good to see a local product, a kid get in there and get a chance to play collegiately and make some things happen at a very prestigious program such as Evangel. And then you had the kind of the glamour games. You kind of had some of the big timers, some of the Power 5 schools that were going to have to see if they're going to shut up or put up. And old coach prime time, Deion Sanders without the Jerry Carroll this time. Deion clean shaven, and he's doing something over there in Boulder. He's making some believers out of some people who didn't believe. Now it's one game, and if you didn't know any better, you would have thought that was the last game of the year, and they had just won the national championship. But he did prove a lot of people wrong. He made some people eat their words. And now I'm not sure. I think half of America is pulling for him. I think 1/4 of America is kind of rooting against him. I think the other 1/4 is still, there's a verdict out there, still trying to see what's up. But hey, he has some players that put up some numbers, big fella.
Well, and it's the first time in NCAA history that a Power 5 school that went 1-11 the previous year opened up with a school that finished in the top 5 and won the game. They take on a TCU team that finished in the top 5 a year ago. They were ranked 17th coming into this seahey, 52 new scholarships at Colorado, 83 new players at Colorado. And he told them when he got there, that, hey, you better make plans to go somewhere else because I'm bringing in a whole new team. And they were 1-11, so you can understand that.
Yeah.
But Shedeur Sanders, his son, 510 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. But here's maybe the stat of the day, and I don't know that this young man can continue this, but a two-way player, Travis Hunter, was on the field for 145 snaps, playing offense and defense. He had 11 receptions for 119 yards, had 7 tackles, 2 assists, and an interception. I don't know that someone can pull that off for a 13-game season to play 145 snaps. But if he does, he ought to win the Heisman.
Well, I think he's a front runner right now. I think he's a front runner, and he should be. I mean, he made some plays. He carried that receiver to the inside, jumped to the outside. I mean, special athlete that could do that and had the wherewithal. I don't know if people really understood this, to twist his body in midair so the ground wouldn't have any impact on the ball. I don't know if you can realize that if you go back and watch that play where he intercepted down the inside the 5, where he actually caught it and had the wherewithal and understanding to go, if I let this ball come down, it can move. I'm going to twist, land on my back, and keep that ball secure. It's just a heck of a play all the way around. But he was the number 1 recruit coming out and chose to hang out with Primetime, and good for Colorado. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Nebraska this week. But right now, I wouldn't bet against them, big fella. What do you think?
No, I wouldn't bet against them at all going into Nebraska. And it's, with the numbers that they're able to put up, Nebraska's defense, maybe it's not as good or not as bad as it was in previous years, but they kind of gave one away in Minnesota 13-10. They lose. Nebraska's going to score points. I mean, they're going to run 70, 75, 80 plays, and they're going to hurry up and get to the ball. They've got great athletes on both sides of the ball, sometimes in the same person with Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball. But I'm looking forward to it. Here's a number that maybe got overlooked a little bit too, and that's with the media. That was a Fox game. That was not an ESPN game. 7.2 million people tuned in. That was the number 1 watched game over the weekend. So ESPN, they didn't draw what they normally do. They were down 41%. So a lot of people are going, with these streaming services that Fox and CBS and those folks have, they're going to find the games they want to watch. And obviously a lot of people wanted to watch that one.
Everybody wanted to watch that game. You couldn't have pulled me away from that game. Everybody wanted to watch it. Well, we'll see what happens this week with all our local teams. Some of the big guys playing out there and see what they're going to do today. But we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're listening to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network inside the Bambino Cafe studio. Fine Italian dining.
Chevy Silverado. It's got the power you want and the capability you need to do the job, so you can get to the important work. Find new moments, find new roads. Get a $500 cash allowance on all 2022 Silverado pickups with a 2.7-liter turbo engine. Plus, unlock your code to claim $500 Chevy Cybercash. Visit ChevyCybercash.com today.
Imagine a bank that goes where you go, creating seamless solutions for every step in your financial journey, allowing you to manage your money the way you want to, with a banking relationship that makes every day extraordinary. Imagine a world full of possibilities, always within reach. Central Bank. We do banking better.
Welcome back, everyone, to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network. That's right, MO Sports, SPORTS Network, NET work inside of the Bambino's Cafe, fine Italian dining studio. Hey, my man DA is on a hiatus today. He's doing a little basketball, doing a little dribbling, doing a little coaching, blowing the whistle out there, pointing his finger, kind of trying to do things, making people run separators. Did you actually run separators? Where you had to hit the line, free throw line, half court, back, the other free throw line, back, and all. Did y'all run those in high school?
Yeah, but at that time we called them suicides, and you can't get by with that anymore.
Oh, you can't do that anymore?
You can do it, but you can't call them suicides.
No, you better not. We called them separators back in the day, and so they bring a bad taste to your mouth. It's kind of like when you realize at the end of practice, football practice, you had 4 or 5 gassers, and you're going, oh man, this ain't pretty, or 10 hundreds, one of those days, your stomach just like, let's just get this over with. But DA is out there on the basketball court doing his thing, and so he left us here alone. And like he said, when mom and dad are away, the kids will play. Let's have a good time here, big fella. Hey, it's that time of year. The NFL is happening tomorrow night. Kansas City Chiefs against the Detroit Lions. Big fella, it's going to be a battle out there in Kansas City. And we got some injuries to report and some people, well, let's just say one big injury to report and a couple of people that won't be there tomorrow for the Chiefs as of right now, big fella.
Well, yeah, you've got, outside of Patrick Mahomes, the most important guy on the offensive side of the ball, and Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee on Tuesday. Now, structurally, by all reports, it's all good. No ACL damage, no ligament damage, no bone damage, but he's got some swelling in there. And so right now, at the time we're recording this, he is still questionable. And Kansas City, everybody in Kansas City is quiet. They're not saying whether or not he is going to play. But Vegas must know something, because the line went from 7.5 when the schedule came out. It's now 4.5, and that's a big drop. And a lot of that has to do with Chris Jones as well, not being in the lineup as of recording. Now, he may be penciling or signing, inking his name to something right now that we don't know about. But as of the time we're recording this, he will not be in the lineup, and that's taken a big piece of that middle out. But it does so much damage, more damage to the guys behind him with Chris Jones.
Well, and big fella, their defensive end, Charles. Now, help me with the last name. Amenayu is also suspended for 6 games. So, they got some individuals that don't have the talent level. There's a fine line between starting and second. And sometimes it's a bigger line, but sometimes those guys that are on the second team are just equally as talented, maybe just not making the plays or whatever. But you can't go around missing 2 or 3 of them and ask your backups to kind of fill in. That's going to be a tough one for them. But with that line movement, that's telling me that everyone must be jumping on Detroit. It doesn't make it doesn't surprise me one bit, big fella. It doesn't surprise me one bit.
No, I mean, Detroit, they were the 4th highest scoring offense in the league last year. Number 4, and you wouldn't have thought that. I mean, people think of Detroit, and you think about the 0-16, and that's been a decade ago. But they are coming around. A lot of teams have got them to pick or a lot of people have got them picked to win their division and maybe make a little bit of a run in the playoffs. And this is a game that the Chiefs could lose. When you're talking about Chris Jones, he had 44 tackles last year. 44, that's not a lot. But he drew more double teams than anybody in the NFL over the past 5 years. 479 snaps, he was double teamed. Nick Bolton led the league in tackles because he's playing behind him, and Chris Jones is keeping those guys off of him.
Right.
So he's able to make those tackles, and 90 of those or 106 of those tackles were solo tackles.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's where the difference is going to be, is those guys behind him, L'Jarius Sneed at corner, Nick Bolton at linebacker. They're not going to be as clean as they were if Chris Jones was in front of them. They're going to have to deal with some blockers.
Good point. And I think Detroit, I like the way that coach coaches. I like the way he kind of leads, inspiring Campbell. And so I think, I think they're going to come here. They were going to come here with a chip on their shoulder anyway. And they're ready to prove to the world that Detroit Lions are back and they're for real. Jared Goff made it to a Super Bowl 3 years ago, I believe it was. So, I mean, he has some talent inside of that arm. So we'll see if Chris Jones gets that big payday or not. Does he deserve it? I think the man deserves it. I say pay him because what we do know is the 49ers just made a big signing themselves today.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Bosa, here on the eve of the opening weekend, and that's a big matchup. They go to Pittsburgh, to open up. And he signs a 5-year, $170 million contract, and $122.5 million of that is guaranteed. And that's going to, the 49ers, Pittsburgh, that's a great game. You look at the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. I mean, the Cowboys, Dak Prescott has beat the Giants 10 times in a row, and the Cowboys have beat the Giants 12 out of the last 13 times. So that's a great matchup. So I'm looking forward to this opening weekend.
Well, I think we all are, and we'll be back here next week to kind of say our thoughts on these games. let's do this real quick. We can hold off and let DA kind of come in late next week. But I don't know what I got the Chiefs. 17 games, 12-5 seems pretty safe. 11-6 seems like they're going to be playing that wild card game. So, big fella, I'll give them. They're going to lose 5 or 6 games this year, and I'm just saying that because I think that's just where the world's going to run. That they're going to catch up with them. So I'll go 12-5 with the Chiefs. What are you saying?
Well, I'm right there with you. And I think they could lose to Detroit. With the injuries and the suspensions and the holdouts that they're taking on. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has never lost an opening game. Andy Reid's won 9 in a row. 6 of those were with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. You're playing a Thursday night game. Andy Reid is so good when he has time to prepare, and he's been preparing for Detroit all freaking summer. So he hasn't been preparing for Travis Kelce being out. So we'll see what happens here. But I think they could lose. If they lose to Detroit, 11-6, I think might be a stretch. I think they'd have to really get some guys healthy and get back in it.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be rocking tomorrow night. We'll see. It's going to be rocking here in the Ozarks too, and across the state, because there are some big time football games waiting to happen. Big fella, tell our audience out there what games that you want to key in on that you really think are going to have significant impact.
Well, I tell you, look at Webb City Republic. Republic ended Webb City's season a year ago. John Roderick retired 2 weeks after that game down there, and that was at Webb City, and we were there. Missouri Sports Network was at that game. This is a big game. Republic undefeated. Webb City's 1-1 on the season. You got to go back to 1993 since they've been 1-2. This is not a place where Webb City's used to being. So that's a big game. Lebanon versus Kickapoo. This may decide the winner of the Ozark Conference. These are probably the 2 best teams in the Ozark Conference. Bolivar's kind of sneaking into that. They got into the top 10 rankings this year. A new coach, a new offense. But by the time they run into Kickapoo in week 10 or week 9 and Lebanon in week 6, there's going to be enough tape on them that they're going to struggle, I think, with those games. And then you've got St. Louis University High, undefeated and receiving ranks in Class 6, and they're taking on CBC, the defending state champion there in St. Louis. That's a huge game that we'll have our big rivalry.
Yes, big rivalry, big time players come out of both of those programs. It's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Big fella. Well, we wish all our teams across the state good luck and good health. And those here that we root for in the Ozarks, good luck this weekend. And you got a break with the weather. You can start the game on time, right?
You bet.
Yeah, it's beautiful weather out there. If you see God, tell him to breathe, because you can see his breath. That's when you know it's a beautiful time of the year, when you can see his breath. Just don't smell it. All right. Just don't smell it, please. Trust me. All right, everyone. We'll be back here on Huddle Up. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Huddle Up on the Missouri Sports Network inside Bambino Cafe Studio. Fine Italian dining. Go check them out. We'll be right back.
The Walnut Street Inn is located in the heart of Springfield on historic Walnut Street, just blocks away from the Missouri State Campus, Hammons Field, Great Southern Arena, and downtown Springfield. The Walnut Street Inn features newly remodeled rooms, breakfast served daily, and a friendly, accommodating staff. The Walnut Street Inn is also a great venue for private events. Book your stay or get more information at walnutstreetinn.com or call 417-864-6346.
We believe banking should make your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
To Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network inside the Bambino studio. It's Johnny Mac with you right here. And my main man, Mr. Guy, the scoreboard guy, Mr. Newcomb himself, the walk-in encyclopedia of sports. The man has more knowledge than anyone I know outside of our coach, DA, who happens to not be at practice today. But that's all right. But we're going to hold down the fort here until DA gets back next week. Coach will be back next week. We got a couple things we want to hit on about our major league sports teams, our baseball teams in particular. And, the Cardinals aren't doing a whole heck of a lot, not a whole heck of a lot to talk about. But what I do want to say is that they got an individual that we saw play here in Double-A in Springfield that is really tearing the cover off that ball. Big fella, tell us about him.
Well, Jordan Walker may be the hottest hitter in baseball right now. You look over his last 2 weeks, he's hitting 347, 15 RBIs, 5 home runs. Heck, in the last week, he's hitting 632 with 8 RBIs, and he's hit 4 home runs, including one last night against the Braves. He's having kind of a breakout month. And he's doing this against San Diego and Atlanta. I mean, two of the teams with decent pitching staffs as well. So he's kind of got it figured out. He's not chasing that ball, that slider down and off the plate from the right-handers as much as he was early in the season. And, I kind of scolded the Cardinals organization early in the year for sending him down, trying to get that right. Well, evidently it's worked because the ball's got to look like a grapefruit coming up there to him right now. He is not swinging and missing anything.
Well, that's the bright side. The dark side, the not so pretty side, the downright ugly side is that Adam Wainwright is still sitting on 198 wins. What is the over-under? What are your thoughts on him getting to 200?
I think he's got to do it. There's 22 games remaining. He's going to get maybe 4 starts, and one of those is going to be tomorrow, a day game in Atlanta where he started his career. And maybe he can, pull a little youth from that atmosphere. And I know the players are rooting for him. He hasn't got a lot of run support. No. 6 of his last 7 starts, they just can't score runs for him. But I'd like to think he's going to get there, and I'm going to hope he's going to get there, but then kind of ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, because that's how he's going to have to. And I mean, he's going to have to get on the big old horse too, and he's going to have to get the bucket and get up out of here because, I like it. I'm an Adam Wainwright fan. I am, but this hasn't been pretty. It's almost been a little bit painful, and I get it. Sometimes he's definitely not getting the run support. I forgot it was a minuscule number that he's getting in his last 6 starts, but there was still some games in which at the end of the first inning, it was 5-6-0. So we're all rooting for him, absolutely. But we definitely want to get there. But he has to get a victory tomorrow to make sure that happens. Hey, on the western side of our good state here, the Kansas City Royals they got some things to work on. I mean, there's some people in their organization who've made some good moves and have gotten some talent over there. And even though they don't have the best record, they still got some players, and they've picked up a couple good ones also.
Well, that trade, if you get a Cole Reagans, a left-handed starter, 25 years old, they brought him in the Aroldis Chapman trade here at the trade deadline. And he's, maybe one of the hottest pitchers in baseball. He's 21 consecutive scoreless innings. Over his last 3 starts, he's 2-0. And the other game, he left with the lead 3-1, and they blew that game. He's not giving up an earned run. And like I said, in the last 21 innings, he's 19 innings pitched in those 3 starts, and he's just 25 years old and he's left-handed. So he's he's probably going to be day 1 opening day starter next year for the Royals. So that's a bright spot. They're 52 games under 500 are the Royals. If they go 8-14 down the stretch, and that would be a miracle, they will still finish with 110 losses. So some things are definitely going to have to change for the Royals as well.
Well, I tell you what's going to change for the Royals. Them dang old Chiefs are starting up. So everything's going to be changing for them, baby. Trust me. Ain't nobody going to be worried about the Royals anytime soon because those Chiefs are starting up. And the Royals are probably just as happy they starting up so they can get all these people off of their back. Well, it's been a good segment, big fella. Tell us what's coming up next week, what we got going on, what does Missouri sports schedule look like?
Well, it's Friday night. We'd had a great high school football scoreboard show on Friday night, 9:30 to 11. Had coaches from around the state that were on. We had all the scores except Bolivar, and that was played in my backyard, and I couldn't see the scoreboard, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then Misha actually had reported it wrong, but we got it right as Bolivar won 35-0 over Rolla. So that comes up at 9:30. The high school game day at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, going through all the games from across the state, maybe talking a little soccer, a little volleyball as well, spreading the love, a little bit like we did last week with fall baseball. And then Monday, the quarterback club resumes at Bambino's. Tremendous food. Lots of coaches and administrators made some very kind remarks to us and the waiters and waitresses. They did a tremendous job as well. And our guest coaches this week will be at the high school level from Ozark, Marshfield, Stratford, Rogersville, Nixa, Mount Vernon, and Fair Grove. And open to see Missouri Evangel and Southwest Baptist there. And I just got an email from the new general manager of the Ozark Lunkers, Caleb Scott. He'll be in attendance as well, and kind of maybe spend a few minutes talking about their schedule. Just got released earlier this week for the 2024 season. So he's going to be there, and he wants to be a part of it as well. So looking really forward to that. 11:30, between 11 and 11:30, show up. The food is there. It's $12 to eat, and it's buffet-style food that is top-notch.
That's right. Big fella. There it is. Thanks for running that down. Hey, I'll be there because you know what? Bambino's is fine Italian dining, and I love it. So I'll be there stuffing my face for sure. But here's what we want you to do. We want you to hold on until next week, because we're going to come back and we're going to give you the real. We're going to give you the skinny on what happened with the Chiefs in Detroit, how the Bears and Mizzou and all our colleges across the state and our local colleges fared. And so don't go anywhere. And if you got to keep this channel on for the whole next week, just do it. But just make sure you tune in to the big fella tomorrow at 5:30 and 9:30 to get to tell you what happened across the state. So, hey, it's been another great episode of Huddle Up. We appreciate you being here. We're the crew holding it down for Coach Archer today. DA couldn't make it today, but he'll be back next week. So once again, you've been listening to Huddle Up inside the Missouri Sports Network on the Bambino, inside the Bambino studio. Big fella, can you give him a big wave? Can you wave at him, big fella? Can you tell him bye? Can you tell him adios? Can you say see you later, sayonara? All right, this is me and my buddy. Hey, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.